Hello everybody, this is John. Welcome to the NCGA FMC Ag Weather Outlook for October 10th, 2015. Well, we continue in a very active time of the year, the harvest time, harvest season, and I think things have really been going good for most areas. It's been very dry, very little rain. Matter of fact, I'm going to be showing you soils are starting off on the dry side. It's getting very dry out there, but as far as conditions getting into the field, they've almost been ideal. And if we look at the number of rain days over the last 7 days, generally speaking, the areas in green are where there could have been some problems. Areas in brown and even yellow are acceptable. And you can see most of the Corn Belt has been very quiet over the last 7 days. Now, if we look at precipitation, generally speaking, less than a ½ inch, which is the blue, that's just going to soak into these soils. So even if there was a little bit of rain, that's going to be gone. It's going to go right into the soils. The green is a little bit more significant, but you can see it's really been spotty. Now, the only area outside our area, for the most part, northern Wisconsin, a couple of spots here and there, but again, very light precipitation last week. Now, I expanded the map. I wanted to show you South Carolina. Look at that. Right there in that region, over 20 inches of rain along the coast and just inland. And that's really going to put some make some issues on any crops that are in that area. So that area really got slammed with some focused tropical moisture. Joaquin was offshore, but it helped focus some moisture right inland into that area. So when we look at the percent of normal precipitation over the last 7 days, really just the areas in blue are where there'd be significant anomalies of extra precipitation, and there just wasn't much at all. So most areas have been drying out. That's what we see here in yellow, soils that are drying below normal. So a very quiet week. That's sort of what I called for last week, and that looks like that's what occurred. Now, temperature departures, a little bit above or a little bit below normal, nothing really extraordinary. Now, these averages, though, we got to that by some variability. And that's what we're going to be seeing this week again, where we are going to have the temperatures fall below normal for a while and then rise above. So this week's going to be very similar to last week with the front passing through and giving us some variability. Now, I did want to mention, make a note here of soil moisture, something I'm going to watch very, very closely as we go through the winter months. But look at this here. We're starting to get very dry soils in a large area of the eastern Corn Belt, the upper Midwest, but the only area where soils still remain wet. Remember this anomaly right here? That area remains with relatively wet soils. Everywhere else, we're really trending to get very dry soils out there right now. So they're coming at the end of the season, but this is something we want to watch because El Nino can bring dry conditions, and that's something as we get through the winter months I'm going to be tracking and monitoring for you very closely. So the jet stream this week, remember last week's briefing, I talked about the jet stream sort of bowing in the western U.S. and dipping in the east, and that's going to bring some cooler air in, mainly the eastern Corn Belt, and that's what I was talking about, that cool air dipping in. Now, really the story of this so far, and we're going to have to watch this really carefully, I've been studying the winter conditions closely, is sometimes there's a trend one way or the other. And definitely the trend I'm seeing right now is above normal in most areas. Now with that dip in the jet stream, a cold front will be moving through and temperatures will be near normal in the eastern Corn Belt, but above normal in the west. So that's going to be the temperature trend this week, and you can see this cold front pushing through. This is towards the early part of the week on Monday, and it's coming through dry, and that's showing how dry the atmosphere is. But it is going to be cooling temperatures off for a large part of the central and eastern Corn Belt this week. Now let's get a little bit further out towards the middle of the month, the 15th to the 20th. That dip in the jet stream or trough pushes off to the east. It's off the east coast or just along the east coast. The ridge in the west sort of stays in that position, and we're sort of in the middle. Most of the Corn Belt's in the middle. This is still above normal jet stream in the upper Midwest, near normal in the east. So when we look at temperatures, we see this pattern of temperatures a little bit below normal in the eastern Corn Belt and temperatures either near or a little bit above normal in the western Corn Belt. Let's go out a little bit further, 20th through 25th. When I see this pattern, and it's way out there, so these computer models, they might change as we get into the latter part of the month, but this is a very relatively tranquil, mild type of weather pattern going into this period. The jet stream is not all that active, and for the most part, it's up further to the north than would be normal. And what we end up with is above normal temperatures over most of the nation. So if that works out, it looks like we're heading for a very mild October. Now let's look at precipitation. See how precipitation looks. This week's going to be just as dry as last week, if not even drier. Little or no rain over just about everywhere across the primary corn belt. Matter of fact, the entire nation, for the most part, very, very quiet. Thus, soils will be drying out just about everywhere. Brown is indicating drying soils, and we really are beginning to get in a situation now where we're starting to get emerging drought due to soil moisture and stream flow in some areas because it's been quite dry for the entire fall, late summer and fall. Now, if we look at precipitation anomalies for the next 4 weeks, remember yellow is below normal, green is above. Here's week 1, lots of yellow. Here's week 2. I wouldn't get too excited about this. One of the things that computer models do, I said this last week, was that it tends to bring climatology into the model. So it overdoes it a bit as far as precipitation. So nothing all that remarkable on week 3 or even week 4. We might go back to normal precipitation, but I think for the most part, the trend of below normal precipitation over the Midwest looks to me like it's going to last well into October, and this actually goes into early November. So overall, looks like a pretty quiet pattern. So lots of times I'm going to have a much longer briefing. I wanted to sort of keep it short and sweet here. Another very dry week. It looks like this dry spell is going to continue well into October, if not November. Some variability in temperatures this week, some cooler temperatures, but I still think the trend is going to be on the warm side, especially as we get into the middle part of October. So be safe. I hope you're getting all your fall operational duties done, and I hope I'm bringing you some good weather as well. Take care.